I'm just going to make it simple, like I can add something to the list, in the sense I can add something to my schedule. Like I have to complete my homework by Monday. So that can be a kind of query that the user sends. At the same time, I can show my list. That is, the user can view what are the contents in the schedule in the list. And if the user has completed some kind of task or schedule, it is also possible for the user to delete the content from the list. Okay. And if you need to add something to the list, there are two things that I felt that is required. One is what you want to do, that is called as task, and when you want to complete it, that is called as day. And for show my list, it just displays the contents, which means it displays your to-do list or its schedules or anything. And delete, for example, in the show my list, it will show you different uh, you know serial numbers. So if you want to delete anything, you have to just add the delete particular number, and the task will be deleted. So this is a simple chatbot that we'll be doing today, and based on this, I'll be showing all the features in the DialogFlow. I mean, not all the features, all the essential features which are required to build, a prototype that can be easily built on DialogFlow. So the first thing that we have to understand here is that you would have seen here. Okay, I see uh, a small, because I see a lot of people. Scheduler is called as an agent. So what is an agent is that the most, like, once you dive into DialogFlow, that you have to understand is what is an agent. An agent is a virtual bot that handles the user queries. I would say it is more like a chatbot. It's like a whole container inside which all the functionalities of the chatbot, all the machine learning and NLP has happening inside this agent. So agent is like a big, you can consider like a Docker or anything. It's like a big container which has its own functionalities inside, or I would say an agent is a chatbot itself. Okay, so in the previous slide, if you see, I said my chatbot is going to be called a scheduler. So agent is nothing but this complete scheduler itself. The complete scheduler app is called as an agent. Okay, and at the same time, I'll also go to Dialogflow and create and help show you how to create an agent, everything. So you can go to dialogflow.com. So this is where this is the Dialogflow portal, where you can go here, go to console. Okay, so this is a simple, I have already built some chatbots, so you can just ignore them. To create a new agent, that is, if you want to, after someone getting Dialogflow, you have to create a new chatbot. So what you do is that you have to click here, and there'll be something called create new agent. So click create new agent, and you can call your agent anything that you wish. So since we are working with to-do list, I'm saying I want to um, create agent with a name to-do list. And here you can see what is the default. Okay, so after you create a to-do, after you name a chatbot agent, you can select a default language. Since we'll be using only English here, let it be English, and you can have a lot of other languages like French, Spanish, and everything. And you can set the default time zone and everything. And since GCP, our Dialogflow is directly connected with the Google Cloud platform, whenever you want to develop a chatbot, you have to connect it with some of the Google Cloud project, which is might be an existing project or it might be a new project. I'm just going to create a new project. I don't want to add it existing project. So after just naming and creating Google project, what you do is go out and create. So it will take some time, and after creating this agent, it will do all the necessary features that has to be in, like it will create a new container for you, which has its own functionalities and features and everything. Okay, so now I have created the agent. I've created a chatbot under which I'm going to deploy, or I'm going to try some examples. I'll show them. So now we have created an agent, but we haven't done anything, we haven't told the agent how to behave and how to handle the user queries. So the next thing is that the next thing that we have to focus upon is that intent. So we can understand very easily. So intent is nothing but, for example, when you have something like a machine learning project, if you're doing something like a classification task, say you want to classify an image that is coming to you. So what you do here is that you have different classes. For example, if you're doing image classification task, you might be having a maybe animal classification, will be having cat, dog, and something, a lot of other animals. So intent is also something similar, but not the exact thing. It's also similar to this, like a classification. Like when a user query comes into a chatbot or an agent, what an agent does is that it tries to classify what is the user query or which class does a user query belong to. Like it tells you or it gives the information, the intent tells you what is the intention behind the user query, whether it's to do something or do class 2 or do something related to task 3 or something like that. So intent is basic, like to put in other words, I would say it is like categorizes, it classifies each user query. For example, if you can see the image on the bottom of the slide, we have several inputs. What's the forecast? What is the weather like now? And what's the temperature going to be tomorrow in Seattle? So all these user queries are coming into this agent. And what an agent does is that the agent tries to classify what kind of user query is that. So here, as you can see, everything is asking about forecasting the weather. So all these three user queries is mapped to this intent called forecast intent. And once it is mapped to this forecast intent, and we are going to work inside this intent to analyze what are the information available inside the user query. So agent is nothing but a complete container. The container, like you understand, I hope you understood what is an agent and what is an intent. So this is another example to show you what is an intent. So once a user gives you an expression or a query, it comes to an agent. Like um, it comes to the agent. So once the user query comes into the agent, what it does is that it tries to classify it belongs to which class, or it tells to which intent this particular user query belongs. So once the particular intent has been matched, we're going to go inside the intent and we are going to do some actions and parameters. And once we analyze the user query and we are ready with the response that you want to do, you will give back the response to the user. Okay, so I will show you how to create intents for now. So this is a simple, the agent that we created now. So you can see here in the the left side tab, you have something called intents. So if you go to here, there'll be initially by default there'll be two intents. So as the name suggests, the one thing is called the default fallback intent. Uh, if you go inside this intent, that is by default there are two particular intents already available. The one is called a default fallback intent and default welcome intent. So default welcome intent, as the name suggests, it's going to greet the user whenever user says hi, this particular intent will be activated because hi or hello or good morning is matching this particular intent. But as I said in the classification task, we have if the particular object doesn't belong to any class, it has to fall into another class called others. So here also we have something called default fallback intent. So when this fallback intent will be matched, in the sense if the user query is not doesn't belong to any of the classes that you have, any of the intents that you have defined here, automatically the query will fall into default fallback intent. So I'll just go inside this default welcome intent and show you people how it looks. Okay, I'll switch to the chatbot I already developed so that it'll be easy for me to. That's a good smiley. Okay, so as you can see here, there is a default welcome intent and default fallback intent. So I'm going to default welcome intent, and I will just. Okay, see. Okay, see, once we come inside an intent, I mean this particular class. So when this class will be matched, when the user queries match to this particular intent, we are going to do all these functionalities. So you don't have to worry about context and events for now, because they are a little bit higher concepts where we require a complete understanding. They help us to, integrate or communicate between intents. For now, we're not going inside what is context and event. So starting from basic. So training phases. If you go to training phases, okay, now the question was, like in any machine learning project, we need some data to train the machine. When I say a classification task, you need data of different classes for the machine to learn. So here, since this chatbot is going to be custom. Okay, so training phases is something, that will be given as a data set for this particular intent to learn. In the sense, all these training phases like good evening, good morning, how are you, just going to say hi. These are some training phases that I'm going to give, that I'm giving to this particular chatbot. In a sense, these data set, I mean these training phrases belong to this particular class or belong to this particular intent called default welcome intent. So whenever the user says any of the questions, or if any of the queries relate or which are much similar to this particular training set that we have provided here, then as possibly that this particular intent will be matched. And here you can see uh, it by default there'll be some training phrases in the default welcome intent, but if you need to uh, add some extra training phrases, you can add them just by hearing, but just adding the sentences here. Like you can there might be some queries, like the queries the user might ask queries like how are you, then how are you doing. So all these queries can be English, and they can contain spelling mistakes. It doesn't matter, because Dialogflow has the intelligence to correct the spelling mistake from users, and also it does it by fuzzy matching algorithms and everything. So you can add a training phrases like everything over here, and good to see you, good to see you, and everything. So these are the training expressions that you're going to add this particular intent. That is, whenever user says something related to these training phrases, this particular intent is matched. And now I'm going to work upon this intent. So if you come here, there's something called responses. So once um, a user query comes here, once a user query comes here, and based on this user query, it has been matched to this particular intent, and I have to give a response back to the user. So that response can be given here, like in this response section. So the problem with Dialogflow is that you can give static, like by default, these are responses available. If you need to add some more responses like um, glad to meet you and everything, you can just go here and add all the responses that you want to give the user as a reply. So like you can add something like this, and just pressing enter will add it to it. And but this is by default, these are default responses. Okay, in case if you want to add responses, say for example you're going to deploy this chatbot into a Telegram or a Google Assistant or Facebook Messenger, anywhere, maybe Telegram will be having its own features, because you would have seen in Telegram we have something like buttons will occur on the screen. The user can select the button and everything. So for this, you can click this button, and you can say to which platform you're going to deploy. If I'm going to deploy in Telegram, I just click Telegram. In responses, you can add a text response. If you want to send an image, you can add an image and card, quick replace, custom cards, and everything. So everything is possible in Dialogflow. For now, I'm not using Dialogflow in the sense Telegram. I'm just going with the default one. So Google Assistants also, like once you develop a chatbot in Dialogflow, it can be easily integrated it can be deployed in Google Assistant as an action. So now the things are very simple. We have default welcome intent. Once a user query matches its default welcome intent based on all this running example, any one of the you have to know that any one of the any one of the responses from this list of responses is going to send us a response to the user. Not all the responses. It randomly selects which response to send, and it sends it. And once I save it, you can see now the intent has been saved and agent training will start. So you can see the agent training started, agent training completed. So what happens in agent training is that it trains based on this user data, based on this training examples that you have provided. And now this intent has learned all this training data. So here is a console where you can test your chatbot. So when I say hi, it responds with a good day. What can I do for you today? So this is thing. And you can see here, this hi is matched with the intent, default welcome intent. When I say good morning, it's going to say, okay, I think since good morning, okay, due to some spelling mistake, it is not able to recognize this particular intent. So what happens is that, as you can see here, since this response, this particular query has not matched with any of the intents available, this particular intent called fallback intent has been matched. So fallback intent will be matched when the user query doesn't fit into any of the intents. So this particular, it just comes into this bucket, that is fallback intent. And so and the responses that fallback intent gives is like, I didn't get it, can you say it again, I missed what you said. So these are some responses, and you can also go ahead and do the response, add more and more responses if you require. So I guess for now you have understood what is a welcome intent, fallback intent, how to create training phrases, and how to create default replies to the user. So since I said we are just going to just a second. I said we are going to do one scheduler app. So these are three intents that I'm going to create. The one thing is that add something to my list, and second thing is that show what is there in my list, and third thing is that delete the contents from the list. Whatever I like, if I want to delete some particular row number, it's going to delete it. So for that, we need these three intents. So I have already created this intent. Maybe it would be better because it would be, I thought it would be better. And here you can see these are the default intents. And the first thing is that show my list. So I'll just, okay, before that, I think it would be better if we discuss what are entities. So if you take this intent, add to list, that is something, add to list. So same, the query can be something like this. For example, the user might ask, have a meeting on Monday. So which means the machine should understand that the user has got a meeting. So the meeting keyword has to be extracted and on Monday. So this particular day has also to be extracted. So task is the meeting and day is Monday. So these are two information that we are going to extract from the user query. Then how do we do that is that we have to create entities. And how do we create entities? That how you saw how we create the intents. So you go to entities in the same way. We have something, a tab called entity. So in entity, um, so um, entities are nothing but the information. That is, once the user query comes into chatbot or agent, the next thing that you want to do is that it's not a rule-based one. It has to be intelligent. That is, you have to extract features and analyze what a user has said. And to extract the features, or I would say some data from the user query, like parameters, date, time, or any other information like location, or any other custom information based on your use cases and everything, you have to know what the user is asking. So how do we know is that by getting all this information. So entities are the information, that is the parameters that you're going to extract from the user query. For example, this is just a small example that will, so if you look at this text over here, so it says like when Sebastian started Google in 2007, few people outside the company took him seriously. I can tell you very senior of CEOs of major American car companies would make my hand. Okay, this is a long text. So this is, if consider this has to be the user query. So based on the user query, the machine has to understand what are different data that are present in the text. So here in this case, we have a person, a name of a person, then we have a name of an organization, the name of a place, and something related to date, earlier this week, less than a decade. So all these are called as entities. Entities are like the parameters or the information that is available. So the machine has to extract this. So for the machine, by default, it doesn't know what to do with the data. So you have to define what kind of information that you want to extract from the query. So for that, you have to go ahead and create entities. So since we are working, okay, so you go ahead with entity creation. For example, since we are working with a scheduling task, I need only two entities. I want to know what is the type of task that the user has to schedule and when he wants to schedule. So for that, you can just go create an entity. You can name the entity. Since I've already created, I'll show you the created one. So first thing is the days. I have created an entity called days. And so days. Um, I have made it simple. The user can only I have considered like the user can only schedule tasks only on some weekdays like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. He cannot tell tomorrow, day after tomorrow, or days or anything because I haven't defined anything like that over here. So you can how do you add entities? Like you just go here and you have to add your entity here. Like Saturday is an entity; it's a type of day, and since all the 7, I think Sunday is missing. So add an entity called Sunday. So Sunday. And here you have something called enter synonyms. Synonyms are, as literally it means the meanings. I mean, what are different possible synonyms that are available for Sunday? Like it is not, no, it is not case sensitive. It is not case sensitive. But these are case sensitive, sorry. Like the entity that you define here are case sensitive, but synonym doesn't matter. Okay, because once if the user says I have to do a homework on Monday, so it will try to match this entity and this Monday will be written whatever we give here. So if you give capital M, this capital Monday will be written. So, okay, and synonyms, as the name says, for example, if I'm having some entity called day after tomorrow, okay, make it simple, day after tomorrow. So the possible, like user would not always say day after tomorrow, this particular phrase. So he might be saying the next, I mean the next to next day, next to next day. So in this case, you're going to give some, yeah, I will explain you what are these things later. So the user can tell what is the next, the user can say the next to next day, or he would say uh, after 2 days, after 2 days, something like that. So these are the different synonyms that are available for this particular entity. So that is, if the user says something similar to these synonyms, this particular entity will be matched and this will be extracted. Okay, so for now, I think it's not required for us to have this entity. So here, as I said, define synonyms, it will give you a large number. For example, here it is very narrow use cases. If I'm saying play, uh, the user could say activity or exercise, walk, and a lot of things are available. So that you can define all the possible, the different diverse use cases in this particular synonyms, and it will be matched accordingly. Okay, so define synonyms as well. And projects, you can also have, if you have a use case where your entity is going to be something like it is going to match, it always going to match the regex expression, you can add the regex expression over here. Like you can have the regex. So all these are regex, but for now we are only dealing with text. So if you would like, I think DialogFlow has its own documentation for regex, you can go with that and fine. Okay, but for now we are just dealing with regex is something like pattern matching. For example, if you want to match any string, then what you do is just put a star, right? It matches any string. So that is how you define regex. There are a lot of syntax for that. And allow automatic expansion is what is, for example, you're defining only here 7 entities, but there might be some entities which are very similar to what you're defined here, but you wouldn't have defined in this particular tab. So, but if you check this, the machine can identify that the user has asked you a new kind of entity, but it looks like this belongs to this particular days entity. So I'm going to add it here. Okay, so that is also possible. And fuzzy matching, as I said, it handles all the spelling mistakes. It matches approximately rather than exactly. Like if you do some spelling mistakes or everything, this fuzzy algorithm will work. So now we have created days entity, and I'm just going to save it. So, and now days is fine. Now I have to go ahead and create another entity called task. So it's very much similar to what we did for days. So task, I'm just going to define only 4 tasks over here. Yes, your homework or meeting or study for the exam, physical activity. So these are the 4 tasks that I would like to include over here. So homework can be task, work, assignment, anything. These are some synonyms. So whenever user says any word similar to this particular entity will be matched. And play, exercise, gym, football, cricket, workout, all those are physical activity. I'm going to save it. So now we have created an entity, and for now we had only default welcome intent, default fallback intent. So I'll show you how to create another entities which to handle user queries. So add to list. So I'm going to create an entity called add to list. So add to list is the name of the, so not entity, intents. Add to list is the name of an intent. And here you have to add some the same way you have to add some training phrases over here. For example, the user can say I maybe play football on Tuesday. So if this user has to say play football on Tuesday, you can see here the parameter. I mean, the Google DialogFlow automatically identifies the yeah, okay. The Google parameter, I mean, the DialogFlow automatically identifies all the entities. So when I just type play football on Tuesday, so it identifies, okay, play football, it belongs to task category. You can see it has been resolved task. And Tuesday is, okay, okay. So Tuesday is a kind of day that has been defined in this entity called day. So it has been resolved as a day. So in the same way, you can have a lot of queries like training phrases, like complete the homework by Wednesday. So when I say this, you can see here, you can also adjust it. If you feel homework is not a complete thing, you can just click here and this particular homework will alone be extracted. And when I say the complete day will be extracted. So this is how you create training phrases. Like it's very simple. You have to give the phrase and you have to annotate what is what intent. So here we have just worked upon, yeah, whenever the, like in the training phases, it is not corrected by the fuzzy logic. Like when the user query, when the user asks the question, there's a possibility that that gets corrected by fuzzy logic. Like even though the user misspells the Tuesday word, it would identify that it is Tuesday. Okay. So I have already created some some training phases here. You can just look here. This is a task and this is an day and everything. And here it's not really about default. For example, we define our own entities, but there are some default custom entity. Default entities is already available. For example, you can see we have some geo country code, age, and ordinal URL, anything. These are the system. You can see the sys dot. So all the system entities, they are by default they are already available. When I say Coimbatore, you can see that I don't know. It might understood that it's a geolocation. Okay, it's not understanding. Maybe India. So you can see that it understands the country. We didn't. You can see here we didn't define the entity called country. It is a system entity. It is already by default available. Okay. So these are not our training phases. So these are the training phases. And okay. So this is training phases now. Now when you can come to actions and parameters, this is where you're going to deal with the entities that you have got that you have extracted from the user query. So here we have extracted something called task and days. So this, whatever you can see here, this particular homework Wednesday, this homework and Wednesday will be available in this variable called $task and $days. And how you can use it? You can directly use this variable $task in order to display. For example, you can go to the response. See, I have already had a response here. Tasks, this task is nothing but whatever the user has input as task, and days is nothing but whatever the users has given us a day is added to the list. This is a simple response. Or I can also say you got to complete task by days. So this is how you create a entity and how you extract entity from the user query and how you use it in the response. Okay. Let the training complete. I'll show you in a small example. So I'm just doing here for now. Okay, 1 minute. I'll save this intent. So this intent, what it does, it has got some training phases, like the users can add some particular task on this particular Wednesday, and we have extracted this task and day, and this we have got a static response here. It just says to the user this that you have to complete. Okay, something. Okay, now you can see here complete. I'm gonna just test this particular intent, complete homework by Monday. So you can see here now the DialogFlow has extracted the homework. You can see here, even though I have typed small h, the capital H has been extracted because this is what the entity we have defined in the entity section. And Monday has been extracted, is added to the list. And this response, like any of the random responses, can be sent as a, like the DialogFlow decides which response is sent randomly. So this is how particular, like this is a user query. It has been matched to this particular intent called add to list. And from this add to list, you extract the parameters homework and Monday, and we are used those parameters in the response, and we are sent it as a reply to the user. But okay, similarly, I'll create two more intents. I'll show you. I'll create two more intents to view the list and as well as to delete from the list. So remove from the list. So in order to remove from the list, I've made it in order to be simple and just remove, like the user would say the number of the serial of the particular task, and that will be removed from the list. So remove the task 5 from the list. These are some training phases, delete 3, and or I would say remove fifth task. Just a second. So here the user is going to give only the serial number. So you can see here this now you can see, look here something like I haven't defined the number entity. This is a system entity that I'm going to use, like system number or this is by default these entities are already available in the system, and the particular number has been resolved into this variable called $number, and I'm just going to say dollar is deleted. Okay, I'm going to save it. So just with a small example. So I'm saying delete 5. You can see here 5 is deleted. This particular response is replied, and this particular 5 has been extracted from the user query. And using that, we are just giving this response. And similarly, I have something like show my list. So in show my list, these are the some training phrases that has been already defined. And here in show my list, there are no entities. Whenever the user says show my list, or I would just want to view my list or retrieve the list, directly in response, I'm going to send all the schedules that are available as a reply. But here for now, if you look at all the intents available here, everything is not working. We don't have any database to store the values. Like everything is static. Like when this particular training phases are matched, this particular reply is sent. Like we are not storing this task and day, we are not storing any information related to query in any database. So there are some situations where all this, of course, with this default basic functionality, you can build chatbots that can answer frequently asked questions or FAQs or anything like that. But we need some kind of functionality which is much beyond this. Like if you're working or if you have your own server where you can send an API request to your own server, get a response from that and everything. So for that, we'll be moving ahead something called fulfillment. So fulfillment is you know fulfillment is again it's a cloud Google Cloud function that is running on your GCP Google Cloud platform. So fulfillment is similarly like here in intents we all had default responses. Like whenever this particular query is matched, this response is sent. But I don't want to send always the same static response. I have to do something with the data that I've got. I need to store it, or I need to analyze what is the data. For example, if the query is like addition, you want to add two numbers, you have to do the addition operation somewhere in the backend and send the response back. So for that, you have to write the logic in fulfillment. Fulfillment is something, but it's again a simple cloud function that is running on its GCP. And there are two possible ways. That is, if you have your own server, like if you're running your own server where you have all the functionalities, then you can enable this webhook, and you can give the URL to your server and the authentication everything, and the request on DialogFlow will go to this server. There it will be like a JSON format. If you look here, you can understand like what is the response. This is API response. Okay, I'll show you the JSON, how the JSON looks and everything. So webhook. But for now, no, I don't have any servers. I'm just going to implement everything Google's cloud function. I'm going to enable it. So this is a simple cloud function that is already existing. And so here you can see how basically for these kinds of tasks, you need a backend, I mean, a kind of database to store the task and date. But just for demo purpose, I'm just using two arrays in JavaScript. And here you can see it is written in JS. And if you have any external libraries, you can just give the library's name over here. It will be installed automatically when this particular function is triggered. So I'm going to have two arrays. One will store the task, what kind of task the user has asked for to save, and time, it stores the data like when the user has to complete the particular task. And how you create like how you handle the intents in DialogFlow in fulfillment is like you have to create a function. There are a lot of different ways, but this is just by template they have given this normal thing. So these are the intent names that you give. So if you go to intents, you would have seen like I had three intents: add to my list, show my list, and remove from list. So whenever this intent is matched, I'm going to invoke this function add to list. And whenever this intent is matched, I'm going to invoke this function called show my list. And this intent is matched, I'm going to invoke this remove from this. So we'll see what are three, how to define all these three functions. So add to list function is here. So add to list take the parameter agent, which contains all the the data, the features, or the entities from the user query. So it always has two queries, two entities. The one is task and time. So how do we get since it is a JSON object, you can get agent.parameters.task. This task is the name of the action parameter that you have provided in intent. You can always go back in here and check. And days. And now you got task and time. I'm just going to push this into my array, that is existing array. And I'm going to send a response to the user agent.add. So this particular response will be sent to the user. So this particular task, whatever he or she has requested for, has been scheduled on this particular time. So this response will be sent. See, in intents, you have to go to this add to list, and if you have your own backend to, if you have your own fulfillment to analyze or operate on the user queries, these default replies will not be sent as a response. First, the machine will try to get the response from the fulfillment, and for that you have to enable here. First, the machine, DialogFlow will try to get a response from the fulfillment. If the DialogFlow fulfillment fails due to invoking or due to some network issues, then this particular any of the default responses will be sent. So always, if this is enabled, this response from this fulfillment will be sent. And I'm going to enable fulfillment for all the three intents that I have created. So add to list and remove from list. Yeah, I don't know. Actually, a couple of months back, and remove from list was also enable the fulfillment. So coming back to fulfillment, um, so you can see here. So what is add to list is that it takes two tasks, two data, task and time. It just pushes the data and says the user this has been added to your uh, data list. And so remove from list, what it does is that it gets the number parameter from the user, like this particular number. And this is, I have done some small array slicing, and like I have removed the particular intent from, the particular data from task and time that's based on the serial number or the array index. And I'm just going to print what are the tasks available after deleting those things. So now here you can see I have built a response dynamically. The schedules are, then the string is appended over here, each task and date, and it is sent as a response. And to view my list, I'm just going to iterate through my task and time data, and I'm going to send it as a stored in a variable called response, and this will be sent as a response to the user. So after writing a Google Dialogflow function, you can deploy it. So deployment will take maybe a few minutes. Is getting deployed. And at the same time, I would like to show you another feature. Like for example, add to list, when you go to this uh, parameters, you can see here there's something called required. So if you feel like this task and day has to always to be included in the user query, you can just put a required parameter over here. So if the user misses to say, if the user is not saying, like if the user says I have to do homework, he or she doesn't say when to do it, this particular prompt will be say enter the, like it will ask for enter the day also, enter the day also. So like, since these two parameters are required, if the user skips this particular parameter, this particular prompt will be asked to get the when he or she wants to complete it. And after only if these two required parameters are matched, this fulfillment call. But for now, I'm just keeping it as not required. Okay, you can see now your cloud function has been deployed. And to view your cloud function in Google in GCP, you can go to this. There's a link available here somewhere. Execution logs. It will show all the execution logs in the Google Dialogflow platform. So I'm just going to try my chatbot now. So hi, you can see in the console. So hi is matched to a default welcome intent. I'm saying I'm saying complete homework on Monday. So you can see complete homework has been scheduled on Monday, and there's a meeting on Sunday. Sorry, there's a meeting on Sunday. You can see meeting has been scheduled on Sunday, and I'm saying no, play football on Thursday. These are three things that I want to do. So physical. So football is not directly matched. You can make it possible by making some tweaks in the instance. I'll show you. So now football, since it has been given a synonymous of physical activity, this particular entity has missed. Now I've added three tasks to my schedule, and I want to see what are there in my schedule. Show my list. So show my list. So it says, so like it gets the query, like the schedules are. So 0 is nothing but the index. You can always have this query, catchy English sentences. For now, just for demo purpose. So the schedules are you have to complete homework on Monday and there's meeting on Sunday. There's a physical activity that you have to do on Thursday. Thursday you have to play football on Thursday. And if you feel like you want to, you don't, you are complete your meeting, then what you can do is that delete the index. You can give the clicks index one. So you can see here your complete homework and physical activity and meeting has been deleted. So it's really cool because you can see here you didn't walk upon any NLP or machine learning. All you've done is to write some few logics that you can use to build the chatbot. And as I said, there'll be some JSON data here and there floating. This is the JSON data. So you can see here, this is the fulfillment request. Like whatever the user query says, this is how the request goes to fulfillment. It will send the user query. If there are any parameters in the user query, it will be sent over here. And how the fulfillment responds. See, this is the fulfillment, the schedule. Whatever the fulfillment says, that will be sent as a response. And you can always check whether your webhook execution was successful or not. If it was not successful, your default response will be sent. And this is how your default API response. Like this is the thing. So I hope for now you would have understood like how to create a small working prototype agent or a chatbot with few functionalities like intents, which can answer few user queries, which can extract few entities, and also which can connect with the backend or cloud function to answer user queries. And apart from this, there are a lot of other functionalities in DialogFlow. I would like to show you uh, this something called knowledge. It is actually in beta. For example, if you have a company where you already predefined FAQs in your databases, and all you want to do is that you don't have to create each intent for your FAQ questions. What you can do is that you can create a knowledge. So knowledge base is like some kind of knowledge of textual data or any kind of data that you're providing to machine so that it can learn from the data. So I'm creating a knowledge base over here. So I'm just saying it as FAQs. Okay. And so there are no documents available. So I'll create the first document. So FAQ document, and knowledge type, it's a FAQ. And you can add a CSV data or HTML data. For example, I'll be adding a yesterday's our website. 1 minute. So here, this is some particular random website. So here I got some FAQs from this data. So what I'm going to do is I'm just copy this website. This is a HTML document. It's a URL. We're going to paste the URL over here and create. So all the FAQs from the particular website will be learned by your chatbot. And so whenever the user asks something, some questions related, which are available in the website, the machine can answer those queries. I'll show you. Okay, so you can see here. So this particular website has been added, and response. How do you add a response? So knowledge, like it might extract several answers from this particular website, but I just want to show you the second answer, second indexed answer. So this is a response, and I'm going to save it. Okay. So your knowledge has been saved. The agent will be trying on knowledge. I'll just take a small question from here. What is the age criteria for appearing? What is the age criteria? Okay, something. So I'm going to say, what is the age criteria? Something. So you can see here. See now I haven't done anything. I'll just provide a Google some HTML URL link to this chatbot, and chatbot is able to find this question, this particular FAQ list, and also it extracts the answer, all this particular answer, not even all the answers, this particular answer, and provide it to the user. So it's really a cool feature, but it's in beta stage. They're still developing it, and it's really cool. So this is how you create knowledge. And so now what you've done till now is that you've created a chatbot, you're done, you're deployed, you're done, the functionalities is done, entities, intents, everything. So every testing purpose is done, and now everything works fine. So you have to show your chatbot to the customers or the people. So that is where you go to this integration. So integration, you can see here, it has got a lot of platforms on which DialogFlow chatbots can be deployed. The first thing is the Google Assistant, but we're not going to Google Assistant. There's a lot of process in order to deploy it. For a simple use case, say you want to add your chatbot in one of your web applications. So you just have to enable this web demo, and it is going to send you an iframe link. And what you do is you just add this iframe link into your web page wherever you want to uh, have the chatbot. For example, this link will show you how the chatbot looks. See, so this is how the chatbot. So this chatbot. So even if you open this particular link, you can view this chatbot. So it just works as the same text console. You can say hi, I'm good, and add homework on Saturday. So it says this is a fulfillment request. So the first request will take some time because it has to connect with the Google Cloud function. So format and schedule, then show my list. So I can say the schedules are, there is only one. That's why I'm saying remove 0. So some there are no schedules. This is okay. There are no schedules. Okay. So this is how you can integrate with web, or if you feel like you want to integrate with Twitter or Facebook Messenger, Telegram, you can just add. You can create a Telegram bot, for example. You can create a Telegram. That is, you can create a Telegram bot. You can just put a token over here, and that particular bot will be executed. And that bot can be used by anyone across the world. So there are a lot of features available in DialogFlow that helps you to integrate your chatbot in several platforms. And these are some analytics tools which help you to understand how the user engages with the chatbot. See, you can see all this data has been trained. You can view what the user have asked and everything. And there's something called history. The same thing it does. And there's something called analytics, which will help you to understand how the user is using a chatbot. If you look at this graph will tell you, like it says that 50% of the user queries are matching to default welcome intent and 50% are matching to. So after going to default welcome intent, maybe if you go to explore, what is happening after default welcome intent? So how the users are engaging. So you can, if you have a lot of intents, it is very easy. It will be easy to visualize. And these are the things that are your built custom, but there are also some pre-built agents. For example, if you want to have a weather API or a certain alarm or anything related to banking, you can just import this pre-built agents. It will create your entities and intents for you, but you have to write the backend for now. So you can have currency converter, coffee shop, car, device. You want to do something with the device properties, you can have device. In FAQ, there are a lot of things. Like if you want to have something like maps, you can just click import. It will import all the intents and entities, and you have to write the fulfillment into a website without integrating the Dialogflow in third-party platform like communicate something. So that's why I said you have something called integration. If you go to this integration, once you have developed this chatbot, you can go to this web demo. If you enable it, it will provide you with iframe link. You can just add a snippet into HTML or any other framework that you're working, and this chatbot will be automatically uh, displayed over there, and they can communicate. So, and as I said, all these integration available. And small talk is something um, like small casual conversations. Like you can, there are some like the users are, how are you, like who are you, how old are you, what might be the response. So you can add all these responses. So this will improve the engaging or conversational experience with the users. So I hope I have covered a lot of important features in Dialogflow that will help you to build chatbots. And one more thing, if you go to the settings, I said like text to speech activities and all is available, right? So that is available somewhere, I think speech. So if you have speech, you can improve this text to speech. If you enable it, all the chatbot response will be spoken out, will be read aloud. So this can really help people who are using chatbots who cannot hear. I mean, they have some disability. It will help them to hear. They can also engage with chatbots. They can solve the queries. Like they can use their voice to ask questions, and the chatbot responds in a speech way so that they can also understand. You can manipulate what kind of language, what is the speaking rate, all the phase and everything. So these are some other functionalities that chatbot provides to us. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think I have covered the things that I want to cover actually. So coming back to the slides. So yeah, so for now, I hope you guys would have understood how to build this chatbot and Dialogflow. It's very quick and very simple. As you can see, in just a matter of 1.5 hours, we have come across a chatbot which can solve a very daily task. But here you have to understand, like in fulfillment, I'm storing all the data as an array. So the data in the array will be destroyed after the session gets over. the session handling is automatically done by DialogFlow. So you can always go ahead with using backend services, like if you have your own MySQL or NoSQL databases, you can go there and use. Okay, so I hope yeah, I think I have covered everything. Navneet?
Yeah, Sanjay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
so Sanjay, we will take some questions from the
Yeah,
chat.
sure.
So already we have a few questions. I've just consolidated a few. Uh,
Okay, okay.
if you like participants, please post your questions. So we will be answering all your queries and questions for next 10 minutes.
So can we implement YAML-based bot in DialogFlow? So as you can see, the DialogFlow does its own machine learning work. But in case if you want to do different machine learning based application on the queries, on the user queries, you can run your own YAML on some GCP platform or other server where you can get the response from, get the request in DialogFlow, work on your own YAML model and get the response back to DialogFlow. That is also possible. And how the front end design of the web demo. So by default, um, the DialogFlow provides only this particular front end design. Like it doesn't provide you any custom design. It always like it gives you this particular front end design. But in case if you want to develop your own chatbot, in the sense in your own front end, you can do that and you can send an API request. Like I'll show you. There's something yeah over here. So if you go here, here there's something called interaction with the API. Okay, I will send this link. It's already available in DialogFlow documentation. The DialogFlow document is very good. You can get all the information here. So I'll just show an example. Like there's something called API Explorer. Okay, uh, so what you'll be doing here is that here is a demo. Yeah, so you have to create a session string if you're working your own backend. Um, okay, there's some projects. That is, you can add the request body here. Like what kind of request can be an audio or input query. So your query will be some kind of queries, like maybe for in our case it will be add homework to the chatbot. So this query can be added, and this, when you send this as an API request to the Dialogflow will directly send you as a response. So that response can be showed in your own backend service. Okay, everything is available in this Google Dialogflow documentation, where you can build some similar chatbots that you're doing Dialogflow, or you can also do or what is it, implement your own chatbot
And
using.
also, Sanjay, please mention their names so that they can know that their question is being answered.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Okay.
So Prasoon has asked what are the other chatbot platforms available. So you have other chatbot, like several other platforms, like there's something called TAR stars that works on rule based thing, and you have Alexa where you can build chatbots similar to Dialogflow, and there are a lot of platforms available. But I felt Dialogflow is going to be like, since I have learned about it, I felt that is better. And there's another question: is it dependent on hardware platform? I have a question. Okay, so no, basically, since this cloud, your fulfillment is running on Google Cloud Function, the Cloud Function can scale its hardware functionality based on the number of users and number of, how intense operations are happening cloud from. It can extend its own servers, memory, RAM, and everything. So you don't have to worry about it, but it may incur some charges based on the plan that you choose for Dialogflow. Okay, and second, you asked, Avinash has asked, one minute, just a second. Avinash has asked a question like, is it possible to integrate the chatbot on LinkedIn? I'm not sure whether LinkedIn facility is available for now in integration. I think it's not available. Maybe, no, I think it's not available. That is why. And Tyagarajan has asked, intents are like activities, right? Um, okay, activities. I'm not understanding what you mean by activity, but intents are basically like the categories. So once a user query comes into chatbot, the machine has to decide what kind of what kind of class does it belong to. In simple terms, it says what is the intention behind the user query. So those intention is defined in intents. And Yashwant has asked how many alternatives do we have to provide for each intent. Okay, alternative means I'm considering you're asking about training phrases. So it depends upon how your user is going to interact with the chatbot. If we have a specific, for example, if you have an intent for adding two numbers, then the user might ask like, I want to add 2 plus 3. What is 2 plus 3? What is the sum when 2 is added 3? So you have to understand how the user might interact with the chatbot. So if you even if you add 2 3 examples from each type of questions, the machine can learn on its own. And the next question is, Satish has asked me, what is the use of regex entity? So the regex that we defined, sorry, the entities that we defined, okay, defined here is some textual data. For example, if you have some entity like, if the say if the user is sending an image file, so you can the image file name can be anything. So in the sense, I need some entity which can match to this particular intent, right? So in that case, it is not a text, it has to match to this pattern. So that is where I go for regex. So regex is something like pattern matching and everything. Okay. And what is the use of Guna has asked me, what is the special use of character in intents like dollar and hash? So those are the parameters that you're going to extract from the intent. For example, that is how the DialogFlow has been developed. That is, to use this particular day, to extract this particular day Wednesday, you need to use it using the dollar signature, because that is how the variables have been used in DialogFlow. That is by default. That is how the DialogFlow has been developed. And there's another question like how to integrate a chatbot into a website without integrating in DialogFlow in third-party platform like Communicate. So as I show you, a lot of integration options are available. I show you how you can develop, how you can integrate with your own website using the web demo. It will give you an embed link, iframe link. You have to just copy paste this link and put it in your website in whatever page that you want to display, and this will automatically have this particular sorry this particular chatbot, this particular frame will be visible to your website. If you want to have your own front end, then as I said, you have to go with the API. You have to create your own front end. You have to send an API request to DialogFlow. DialogFlow will do all analysis to send a response back to the front end. 1 minute. Just going through the questions.
Hello, Sanjay.
Yeah, sure. Tell me.
Yeah, Sanjay. Yeah, we have two questions left above my message. So you can start from Yashika and Prasoon. Yeah, we have a few questions from them. So what if I want to make a chatbot with voice?
UI.
With voice.
You mean user interface?
No, voice. If you want to build a chatbot with the voice enabled feature.
Okay, yeah. So if you look at this demo, you have this speech to text functionality. That is, if you click this small microphone, whatever you speak is going to be converted into a text and it will be sent as a request to this DialogFlow. And if you want to, so for example, if I'm saying hi, so this response, I'm doing good, will meet soon. This is actually a textual response. But in case if you want to have this response as a voice, what you do is that you just have to go to this settings and go to the speech and enable this text to speech. So it will automatically speak out whatever the response is coming from DialogFlow. So it will just say, I'm doing good and will meet soon. But the problem that I felt was that it is like every response will be text to speech. Like you cannot decide which response will be text to speech. Like whatever response is coming from DialogFlow, everything will be spoken out. So that is, I think that is, you cannot customize it, like which response has to be spoken out and which should not be. So I think that is still a limitation there. And next question. Okay, 1 minute.
Yeah, there's one from Satish. So without predefining, can we create automatic response from the request?
Can you repeat the question, please?
So without predefining all those responses, can we create automatic responses from the request? So
Okay.
you can scroll to the top. Yeah, there you will have.
Okay. The thing here is that for now you cannot generate responses, in the sense like you cannot generate responses which are like human like. That is what I assume is existing till now. But you can you should have always have some predefined responses available to it. Maybe you can have a set of different responses where the machine can send automatically based on some random selection. It can send, but you cannot frame sentences. That is, you cannot generate words and sentences. It's not like generative kind of algorithm. I think they haven't done it so far. But you can always send a diverse set of responses, but you should have what are different kinds of response that you want to send, but still it is predefined. And is there any other question? How about integrating emojis to chatbot? Is it possible? So yeah, you can integrate emojis as well. For example, if I'm going to this intent, for example, I'll show you. Show my list. It's simple. It is actually Unicode only. You can have any kind of auto simple sender thing. You can here emojis that. So you can add your own emojis. For example, I'm adding this. Okay, and just adding this emoji. Like if you right click it, you will have an option called emoji by default. So after adding it, so this will be sent as a response. I'll show you just. Okay, it's going for fulfillment. So you can see the emojis has been displayed. So this will be visible across all the chatbot platforms. Any other questions? Is it a rule-based or AI chatbot? So basically, NGT has asked, is it a rule-based chatbot or an AI chatbot? It's basically an AI chatbot. Of if you go to settings, you can go to the ML setting. You actually had two rules here. Like you can define it to be rule-based as well as ML. But for now, from 2020, they're going to make both hybrid. That is, it is both rule-based and ML. That is, the DialogFlow tries to solve the queries using both rule-based algorithms as well as machine learning-based algorithms. Someone has asked me, is there any video lecture to getting started from scratch to learn DialogFlow? So with this webinar, I hope you would have got all the terminologies in your hand. But if you would like to know more about building chatbots, you can go to this documentation. This is actually very useful documentation. You can just search for Google Cloud DialogFlow documentation. You can get all the documentation. Or you have a YouTube series like disc. Go. I don't remember the exact name on DialogFlow. Yeah, it does something called deconstructing chatbots. So there's something called
Welcome to Deconstructing Chatbots.
That will help you to understand.
Hello, Sanjay.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, Sanjay, few questions are left at the top. So can you scroll to the top? Right after I dropped a private message, there are a few questions which is unanswered.
Okay.
From Kumar.
So
From
Tyagarajan.
Avinash, what is RACA? From Tyagarajan, we have.
Yeah, Tyagarajan has speaking generally from an end user perspective while building up a chatbot for the various. Yeah, you're asking whether is it possible for the developers, that is admins, to view the data. Like, is it possible to hide ourselves such so that? Okay, okay. Tyagarajan has like whether is it possible to hide the details whatever the user is chatting with the chatbot so that we preserve privacy. But I think you don't have the option for now, because whatever user query is being sent, it is going to develop. It is going to DialogFlow, and DialogFlow can read all the messages, all the queries sent by the user. So it is also visible to a developer side. But that you have another functionality, like there's something called share. Okay, in share, what you can do is that, so you can decide who has the access to this DialogFlow development platform. So for now, I have the access. If I have a team where they're working on only on intents and entities, I can just add the email and I can send them as the reviewer. So if I think if reviewer has very less privileges than an admin. So I think that would be a better option in case if you want to hide user details from other people. And okay, the telephony option, which is Nitin has asked, the telephony option which is available in DialogFlow, some are paid and some are only available for us. So how do Indian user upload a phone back to like even I haven't used the telephone option because I think it comes with the enterprise edition. Since I haven't worked with, I haven't paid, I haven't subscribed for enterprise edition. I haven't tried how this telephone gateway everything works, but you can always try it out or check out some online resources how these things work. But they have functionality for everything. And can we use it for commercial purposes? Commercial purposes, I don't. I'm assuming. Okay, I don't understand what is commercial purposes. Okay, I'm assuming maybe can you asking where you can use a chatbot for your own. Oh, okay, I'm just going to skip the question. How to save these scheduled events in Google Calendar? Okay, Prashant has asked how to save these schedules event in Google Calendar. So it's actually a good question. Because it adds more kind of engaging and functionality to your chatbot. It is always possible. Like you can always go to this Google, you can go to this cloud. I mean, your GCP. If you go to a GCP, you can enable the something called Calendars API. So if you enable the Google Calendar API, you can understand. You have to just go through how the API works, what is the kind of parameter it takes, and you can call those APIs directly from the fulfillment. So that is how you can. It's not only about Google Calendar. You can deploy. You can communicate with any third-party resources, any third-party websites or servers through this fulfillment by giving the API request and everything. So you just have to go here and you have to enable the calendar settings. So it will be sending you some. It will be sending you some credentials, and you have to just follow the steps. That's it. And yes, it is possible. And few more questions. Just going through it. 1 minute. Okay, I think I've answered almost. Okay, someone Tyagarajan has asked me, learning NLP will be more favor. Of course, if you're very much interested in learning machine learning, I mean, NLP is very much appreciated because it will help you to understand, get a dive deep into a machine learning platform where you can build your own chatbots. But DialogFlow can be used in case if you just want to develop a chatbot overnight or in a short duration of time, because it does a lot of tasks for you. But learning machine learning is always a good. Can you suggest some use case chatbots for favoring NLP? Yeah, it can be same thing. Understanding user queries, or second, you have to do the classification task, everything, and extracting parameters, all this stuff. And I think, okay, I think I have answered all the questions now, right?
Yes, Sanjay, there are a few questions. So one is being asked like, is it rule-based or AI chatbot?
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yeah, Sanjay, the backend, whether it is a rule-based or some kind of AI algorithm is doing that.
No, it's actually, sorry, yeah. So once the user query comes into, if you go here, once the user query comes into its agent, the agent has to decide to match it with intent. So what DialogFlow does is that it has got two options. You can always go with rule-based one or machine learning-based one. So to decide whether to go with rule-based or machine learning, you can go to the settings, and here you have YAML settings, and here you can choose whether it's hybrid or YAML only or whether rule-based. But for now, I think from from this year, everything is going to be hybrid. Like the match mode settings duplicate, and like all requests will be hybrid mode. That is both rule-based and machine learning-based algorithm will be used to decide the intents and matching and everything. So that is DialogFlow uses both rule-based and machine learning-based. So whichever produces some better results, better score, better confidence value, that particular result will be given back. Hope that is answered.
Hello, Sanjay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sanjay. We have few questions from the audience, so they wanted to talk. It seems so. I'm just enabling Prasoon's voice. So Prasoon, you can ask your questions now.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Prasoon, go ahead. So people who wanted to ask any personal questions through voice or just wanted to talk with us, just raise your hands or drop a message in the chat. We will unmute you so that you can ask questions. So Prasun, you are online. You can talk now.
My voice audible?
Yes, Prasun is audible.
Yeah, so I was asking, like, we have deployed the chatbot on our website, but when you go in the from the commercial purpose or the enterprises purpose, they don't show they don't want to show what the services they are using in the background. Like, can you please move to the tab where you are showing right now, the right now tab?
Which one? DialogFlow tab.
Yeah, DialogFlow tab.
Integrations.
Yeah. So no. Right now tab like yeah web demo page. Can you move to web demo? Yeah. So in the scheduler, it is showing the powered by DialogFlow.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. So can I hide it, because as the enterprise from the enterprise view, we don't want to show what we are using in the background.
Okay, I think it's not possible. Maybe.
But when we are paying to the Google, when we are paying to the Google, because as per the enterprise, we should have to pay for the services, because we are using at this as a commercial purpose. So I guess we should have to pay. So is it possible to hide it or not? If you are not, if you are not sure, then we can move to the another question. Also, I have some private questions.
Yeah, for now, the standard edition, I think the standard edition doesn't allow hiding this powered by DialogFlow.
Okay, no problem. I was just asking.
Okay, there might be some possibilities in enterprise edition, because I haven't explored what are the benefits we get from enterprise edition.
Okay. So I have also from the questions from the enterprises view. We will continue them when the participants leave, because I am an intern, and I don't want to disclose the information what is going in my company. So from the another question is just like this is just like service provided by Amazon Alexa. Sorry, Amazon Lex. This is the services Amazon Lex, where you can configure your bot. So can we, if I have configured my bot in the Amazon Lex, so can I transport? Can I migrate it to the Google Cloud in the DialogFlow?
Okay, I'm not sure whether you can migrate a complete chatbot from Alexa to DialogFlow, but in case if you have your own intents available, there's some option to upload it. For example, you can go to this add to list. There are some possibility to upload as a bulk upload. Like you can, I think for entities it's available. There's a possibility to upload all the entities and intents from some other sources if you have all the sources already available.
Okay. But, so like if you have showed it, there is we didn't have done any programming. Okay.
Yeah, Prasun. I will share you the team email ID. So you further queries, you can drop a mail over there, so we can talk in person. Right? Is that fine?
Okay. I can leave, and I will place your call. Can you please?
Okay, I'll drop you the email.
The time.
I'll drop you the email. Okay. So it's getting like we are going to close the session.
Okay, definitely, because this is getting late. But the session was very nice. Okay, goodbye. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So you can always you can contact me maybe through.
Yeah, I will try to contact you, because it will also it will be an innovative things when you will get in touch with me. I don't have a very strong programming, but I have a very strong logics ideas that we can try to implement, and we can learn many new things.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Yeah, Sanjay. Yeah, we can, Sanjay, we will close the session. You can just discuss about the TFUG, show our meetup page, and yeah, we'll close with that.
Yeah, okay, bro. So thank you guys. Thank you for attending session. I hope this was very much informative. And like we are just going, the world is going through some difficult situations. So please take care of yourself. Please stay at home, and maybe you can always utilize all this vacation and not a vacation, this lockdown period productively, like learning or upskilling any of your skills. That will be really helpful for your future. So thank you all for attending this, and thank you, Maitri and Navneet, for organizing this.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Sanjay, for spreading your time and sharing your knowledge. I hope it was a wonderful session for everyone. And this is just the starting of the web seminar we are going to do, and we will be having another seminar on 6th conducted by Navneet. So I would like everyone over here to also be there on the next session, and share it with as much people as possible. We are also would be doing it on Facebook Live, as well as we'll be sharing in YouTube. Okay, so please try to join next session also. Once again, thank you for joining us.
Okay. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Navneet here. So thank you for attending. Thank you, everyone. So the response is very good. We have got 100+ participants on Zoom, YouTube, and even in Facebook Live. So we are trying to increase we have faced some few issues for the today's session. So we will try to sort it out and come up with a better session for the next. And with that, thank you all, and take care, be safe, and reach out to us on TFUG, CB, and School of AI Coimbatore. We are on Facebook, Meetup, and all sort of platforms, so you can reach to us. Thank you.